Lots going on as usual. Today is Saturday, June 14th, 2025, and today is Donald Trump's birthday, and they're doing kicking off America 250, which is America's 250th birthday, which Donald Trump was excited over because he gets all sorts of celebratory things, and he really enjoys being the president and doing all of that kind of stuff. So he's a very patriotic kind of guy. So having a military parade seems like something that he'd do. So there's a big military parade today in the face of and in the context of the LA riots and the No Kings protests that are planned. No Kings protests. It's a paid for NGO coordinated something or other against Trump on his birthday, and that's going to go down today. So I don't have any news about that yet. There's nothing that's really happened because usually today I do all of yesterday's news, right? And so far everything's just, rolling out as normal, et cetera, et cetera. Iran and Israel, we've got a small update, not nearly as big as yesterday. There's retaliation and so on and so forth. So there's updates, certainly. I guess it's a war, but we'll see what happens. UK government worked with major broadcasters to embed narratives into fictional TV. I'm shocked. No way. You're telling me that these transgender trans people didn't organically make their way into these programs? No way. Oh my gosh. My jaw's on the floor, right? Unbelievable. So there's actual evidence about this, about meetings in February of 2020 before like the COVID-19 thing got off the ground. And it shows if this was a Matlock, this would be the smoking gun, or one of the smoking guns. A bunch of Western jihadis have gone to Egypt to support Hamas and protest on the Gaza border or something to that effect. And they got found out, picked up at the airport and deported, and it's hilarious. So I'll show you that. Dr. Tam is gone, and I don't know, he's probably back in China or something like that. And the CPC are voting against the main estimates, but do they have any kind of real plan? I'm not very confident that they do. And so that's unfortunate. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we're going to talk about the American military parade. Everybody is saying this is very concerning. We're very concerned about what's going on with all the American military show of force and so on and so forth. And Donald Trump is a patriotic president who likes to do big shows. The whole military industrial complex is built on that foundation. And I'm not saying it's a good thing, as you can read with the title of today's show, like all wars are Bankster wars. Yeah, it's there. Who controls the United States and has been for a long time is very obvious, right? But here's what people seem to get on board for. America, World Police Team America, yeah, all that other stuff. People love this stuff. Here's tanks rolling out in, I can't remember where, Washington maybe? It seems a little antiquated, right? But I guess they're going through kind of history. Is war done with tanks these days, right? Where's its drone support? I mean, come on, right? It's got to have air drone support and then other drone support to make sure there's a perimeter around the tank. Warfare is very, very different than it used to be, and tanks are not I don't think anyway, we're not fighting World War II style wars anymore. It would be like showing up in a World War II era battle with World War I kit, right? If you all show up with your horses, things are going to go badly for you. You're going to lose. So here's Keith. He says, this isn't North Korea. This is America. And this is terrifying. And so Keith doesn't maybe understand the context of what's going on, but here's a whole bunch of people marching and they're in historical garb. So they're representing, I think this is the MASH uniform. There's Alan Alda right there. But the whole thing is supposed to be paying a tribute to the history of the United States and foreign conflicts and things like that. Here's Liberty Bells. They say in 1946, another military parade was held in New York to celebrate the Allied powers' victory over the coalition of Axis powers in World War II. So military parades abound. These people are pearl clutching, saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is America, not North Korea," right? And do they have a need to pearl clutch? And further, is having a military this way and having the American military be used as foreign policy to kind of as world police, right or wrong, right? And using foreign policy backed up with those world police, is that positive or negative? It's viewed as positively. It's being put on display here as a positive thing. Is it a positive thing? Is that what we should be striving for? Is peace through strength, as Trump likes to say, is that really the pinnacle of where our society should go? I don't know, but I think that we're probably being played, and it's become such an embedded bit of our culture. I mean, look, like you can look through the years, there's all sorts of different uniforms for different conflicts that didn't take place on American soil. They're just going abroad to, bring democracy, as for Iraq or whatever, right? Vietnam, so on and so forth. So it's a very interesting thing, celebrating all of this stuff. And at the same time, warfare's different than it used to be, right? And what does warfare look like now? Color revolutions, right? Like no kings. I think that's what warfare looks like right now. CJR says, I looked into this no kings BS and I noticed something. There are 3 happening in the populated areas around me. One's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., one's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., and one's from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. This gives the ability to bus in the paid actors from one place to another place to another place. This is staged propaganda. I think he's onto something. I think that's right. Like you can multiply one group of people to 3 different events or more, right? And you can cause a lot of damage, and maybe everybody doesn't go. Maybe you leave a couple of people with the locals who joined your protest thing, and you go and you seed the next one, and then you go and you seed the next one. You see what I'm saying? So you can turn one protest into 3 protests, one action into many. And so it does seem like staged propaganda, and that's what I mean by evolution of warfare. I don't see tanks. Do you? Right? And so Wall Street Apes says, I can't believe this is real. The riots in LA are being blamed on Donald Trump. It's, of course, Donald Trump's fault for how dare he allow the ICE agents to do their job and allow them to remove illegals and such. And so this is Mayor Bass, and I think it's Mayor Bass. And this is Democrat California Representative Norma Torres, and she's demanding that Donald Trump reimburse Los Angeles for the ICE riots. So here's that.
I am demanding full accountability and reimbursement for the local costs incurred, including injuries to local officers and damages caused by the chaos unleashed when the Trump administration recklessly deployed the military and ICE agents into our communities. They are the ones who created this unrest, and they are the ones that need to foot the bill. I don't
think so. The police coming in to fix the problem is they're not causing the problem. They're trying to fix the problem, right? And sometimes, it's like the plot to The Incredibles, where Mr. Incredible was on the hook for saving somebody from their suicide, and so he was on the hook for their emotional scarring and all the rest. You ruined my death or something like that. It's really, I've talked about it before, but it's a really, really crazy premise for a kid's movie. I digress. It's inverting what would normally be expected, right? Like you would say, oh, ICE, thanks for coming in and doing all of this hard work. All of the mess that's created, we'll clean all that up. No, they say you're to blame. How dare you come in and do these evil things? And I think that's misunderstanding it and misinterpreting it, and then using that misinterpretation to manipulate your viewers or the people who believe you. Here's Eric, and he says, anti-ICE rioters just got pummeled by ICE agents in Newark, New Jersey after they were shaking the gates of the facility. Tasers drawn, no more messing around, lay down the hammer. So they're shaking the gates here. And then, so they open the gates, and they rush these people, and then later on, almost a full-blown fight erupts. So this is about 2 minutes in, 1 minute 46 seconds. Very interesting. Like, this is a situation that you would not expect, right? Like, it's very brazen for people to be shaking the fence of federal facilities and things like that, and pretending like they have some kind of standing to to be doing that, et cetera, et cetera. And so the federal agents coming out, it's strange that they're not just arresting a whole bunch of people, right? But I guess what are they arresting them for? Shaking the fence, where's the line? So the whole thing is, it seems this is designed to escalate. It's designed to go to the next level because everybody's kind of hemmed in, right? So you can't arrest these people, although maybe you should, like for domestic terrorism, et cetera, et cetera. All of this seems like they're trying to invert what Trump's doing in the same way that they're inverting the LA riots to be Trump's fault. They're trying to invert what Trump's doing in the United States to be net evil. He's an evil person and he's doing evil things, and we disagree with this evil guy. And if you are looking at what he's doing and you look at what the American people seem to want based on their votes and so on and so forth, it seems like Trump is delivering that. And yet, if you listen to the Democrats, he's an evil guy who's doing evil things. So it's very, very interesting to watch all of this stuff unfold. And it seems like everything's narrative, everything. I read this yesterday, but I wanted to re-highlight this because I think that it's important. Again, this is what the American people wanted with voting for Trump to come back in. And this is what Trump explicitly said over and over that he was going to do. This is not a surprise. And this is all encoded in law. Bill Clinton deported more people by a lot, right? Bill Clinton was at 4 times what Trump's at right now in the same time in his presidency, roughly, first year. So Clinton deported 12 million and Trump has only deported 1 million. Clinton deported 12 million over 4 years, so 4 million a year. And so Trump hasn't been in office an entire year, but he's only at 1 million. So he's lagging, okay, if you compare to Bill Clinton. So this is an emergency now, right? Everybody's saying he's a bad guy. It's weird. But this is what Trump is saying. This is what he said he was going to do explicitly during the campaign. Not like that Pierre Poilievre guy who doesn't say anything, right? Here's Donald Trump. He says, the Biden administration and Governor Newsom flooded America with 21 million illegal aliens, destroying schools, hospitals, and communities, and consuming untold billions of dollars in free welfare. All of them have to go home, as do countless other illegals and criminals who will turn us into a bankrupt third world nation. America was invaded and occupied. This is the president of the United States saying America was invaded and occupied. That's a big deal. Regardless of whether you like Trump or hate Trump, the office of the president saying America was attacked, invaded, and occupied, the attack is implied, is pretty big. So I don't feel like I gave it its due yesterday. I'm reversing the invasion. It's called remigration. Our courageous ICE officials who are daily being subjected to doxing and murder threats are heroes. We will always have their back as they carry out this noble mission. America will be for Americans. Again, that's a statement, and I think that people wanted that. They wanted that. And yet they're being fed an unending diet of Trump's a bad guy doing bad things. He owes us money for the LA riots because he's a bad guy doing bad things. You see what's going on? And they're trying to blame him. And it's not him that caused the problem. He's trying to solve it. And it's all being inverted. And when I look at this, and then I think of history, and I think of what most people believe is accurate history, it's no wonder they think that they know accurate history, because people talk and talk and talk, and it's inaccurate and it's wrong. And ultimately, people believe a false narrative instead of what actually happened in history. But it's very difficult to suss out what actually happened because the history books have been cooked just like the newspapers, unfortunately. So any newspaper article you read bears some resemblance to the truth, but often has a lot of narratives wound through it, or some kind of omission, or something to mislead you or to push you onto a narrative that may otherwise not be fulfilled by the story. And then if you know the facts of the story, you're like, well, hold on a second, like there's a lot of fluff in here, or that's not exactly accurate, or whatever. Same with history books, unfortunately. And I wish it weren't so, but it is. Here's Randy Hillier. Let's talk about Iran briefly. And here's Randy Hillier. And this is really what the title of the show is about. That all wars are Bankster wars. I feel manipulated with this Iran-Israel conflict. Everybody's saying we stand with Israel. Israel has a right to defend itself in the face of Canada being invaded. We don't have a right to defend ourselves in the face of California having all these riots, the LA riots and so on and so forth. They don't have a right to defend themselves. The United States being invaded on the southern border, they don't have a right to defend themselves. But Israel absolutely, unequivocally, unquestioningly can start a war with Iran. That's a right to defend yourself, despite the fact that they started the war. Are you kidding me? So I look at that and I think, I think we're being manipulated. I think this is a little weird. I think everything that they're saying is bullshit, because everybody's saying either the same thing that doesn't make sense, or they're not allowed to dissent. Anybody who dissents is a bad guy, right? And I've been the bad guy a couple of times, so I'll dissent again. Anyway, Randy Hillier is similar dissent. He says, the Middle East has been in constant conflict since 1948. What happened in 1948? Anybody know? Balfour Declaration? Anybody? Bueller? Israel? Creation of Israel. I think that's what he's referring to. Maybe it's just bad luck, or did the infallible Western democracies possibly make an error in 1948? President of the United States, Donald Trump, you carry the legacy of America's greatness and its errors. You will determine if America improves its greatness or amplifies its errors. And so Bannon's talking about this. If Israel is going to go alone, then take care of your deal. You decided to go alone. You said you didn't need us. And 6 hours in, not only do they want defense, they want us to go on offense. Don't believe me? Tucker Carlson's got a tweet up. He's naming names. So it's, well, and you can check that out if you're interested. It's interesting. There were people who were saying Donald Trump said, no, you shouldn't do this, Israel, and we're not going to do this with you. But then also he did the tweet that I read to you yesterday, basically saying we gave Iran 60 days. They didn't make a deal. They should make a deal now. And that seemed to support Iran's action. Israel's action, not Iran's action. That seems to support Israel's action against Iran. And so it seems like the United States is giving support to Israel to do this. And I said yesterday, if Israel is doing something like that, it involves American intelligence, it involves American weapons. So there's all sorts of support that the United States has given Israel to enable them to do this. So to think that Trump didn't give approval seems naive. I think that Israel moves and the states will follow and help them. Because, I mean, they have for the last 50 years. Why is that going to change? I don't see that changing. And so it's one of those things that I don't think that it's positive. I don't think that having this first strike preemptive war to get rid of a nuclear program in Iran holds water. I think it's the same thing as the smoking gun. You wouldn't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud. It's the same bullshit excuse. But everybody's falling in. Everybody's falling in line and saying, "Oh yeah, well this is totally legit. We should definitely do this." So I think we're being manipulated. Okay. Melissa says, "Help me understand this. Canada supports Israel by calling on them to reach a diplomatic peace with the Iranians and the likes. Yet on the flip side, send billions of dollars to Ukraine to fight Russia." So this is Mark Carney's tweet on the whole thing. He says, Iran's nuclear program has long been a cause of grave concern, and its missile attacks across Israel threaten regional peace. Today, I convened a National Security Council to receive an update on the situation and to ensure that all necessary steps will be taken to protect our nationals and our diplomatic missions in the region. Canada reaffirms Israel's right to defend itself and to ensure its security. We call on all parties to exercise maximum restraint and move toward a diplomatic resolution. There was a different tweet out. Anita Anand put out a different tweet before and then had another one. Here's the Chinese. I'll show you Anita Anand's new one in just a second. Here's the Chinese UN envoy Fu Kong. And this is what he says about this.
Ambassador, what do you think of the current situation concerning Israel and Iran?
We strongly condemn the Israelis' attack on Iran. This is a violation of the Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And we are particularly concerned that they are attacking nuclear facilities, which is another red line that Israel has crossed.
Ambassador.
So there you go. China doesn't like it. And there are people who think that the move to attack Iran by Israel is a proxy war, is a proxy movement to start enabling action against Russia and China. Although I didn't see that. I don't think that that's necessarily something that's actually possible. I don't think that this could bleed that way, but maybe it could. I mean, it might. Russia and Iran are close diplomatically. I don't think that China and Iran are as close as Russia and Iran, but they're potentially, like Russia and Iran, are diplomatically close. So it could bleed, but maybe not. And I don't think that that's a risk right now. But if it becomes something prominent, if they start talking about it, if Russia starts talking about it, I'll tell you. Here's Anita Anand's tweet, and Lori Goldstein says, totally different from the first tweet on this issue. So that's interesting to note. I don't have the first tweet. Sorry that I don't. Anita says, Canada condemns Iran's attack on Israel and urges restraint on both sides. Further actions can cause devastating consequences for the broader region. The U.S.-Iran negotiations represent the best path to achieving a lasting and peaceful resolution to Iran's nuclear program. Diplomatic engagement remains essential to ensuring long-term regional stability and international security. Iran cannot obtain nuclear weapons. Iran's continued efforts to pursue nuclear weapons to support terrorists and direct attacks on civilian centers embody Iran's persistent threat to regional stability and to Israel, which has the right to defend itself. Somebody sent an email. Whenever Israel does something, they have a right to defend themselves, regardless of whether they're the aggressor or not. It's defense. It's always self-defense. They're always defending themselves. Canadians in the region are encouraged to remain vigilant and to register with the embassy in order to receive timely updates. So there you go. There's that. And Israel, Pierre Poilievre says, Israel has the right to defend itself. Come on, you knew it was coming. Including by disarming Tehran's genocidal nuclear program. It cannot wait until the regime has capabilities for a nuclear strike. We should all hope that this is the end of the regime's nuclear power and that the great Persian people can now rise up to reclaim their country from the totalitarian regime. How does Pierre Poilievre know what the Persian people want? Is he does he have a pen pal in Iran? No, I'm just wondering. All levels of government must take extra steps to protect Canada's Jewish community from vile anti-Semites who may use these events as an excuse for more acts of violence. We have a lot of Iranian MPs, don't we? There's a bunch of Iranian MPs, aren't there? Here's Canada. And again, I showed you a report from 1995 that said Iran was weeks away from a nuclear weapon, says Israel and its U.S. allies and intelligence. So here, Canada says, Israel has been saying that Iran is days, weeks, or months away from a nuclear weapon since 1984. So I showed you a news article from 1995, but they've been saying it for 11 years before that at least. So it's crazy town that we keep falling for this. It's nuts. Here is Juno News. So the too long didn't read about Iran, Israel is we're being manipulated. We shouldn't send money for foreign wars. And I don't understand how every single MP says Israel has a right to defend itself, despite the fact that it was the aggressor. Everybody's been told what to say, and everybody's complying with the orders. It's very, very interesting, concerning, but very interesting. Here's funny news. It's funny. Here's funny news. Juno News is reporting over 100 Canadians boarded a plane intending to join a global anti-Israel protest at Egypt's border with Gaza, but were detained at the border by authorities upon arrival. So they got there in Egypt and they were detained, and they said, no, you guys go back. Here is Leviathan. He's reporting on this. He says, Noor Hadidi is a comedian who made jokes about wanting to have sex with members of Hamas. She loves Hamas so much she went to Egypt to visit them. Now, because Egypt put her in a barrier, she believes they're treating her like an animal. So, if you don't know anything about the culture and just believe the news, you might end up in this situation. Here we go.
Everyone, I'm on the global march to Gaza in Egypt. We were stopped at a checkpoint. They took our passports. They've detained us. I'm going to show you. They put us in a barrier like animals. Look how they've locked us in. They've locked us all in. These are all activists. These are all people. We are activists from multiple countries, and they've brought the army. They've brought armed cars. They are going to take us back to the airport to deport us. We have done nothing wrong. Hi, everyone. I'm on the...
We are activists. We are activists who are activists. Okay, cool. Here is another one. Egyptians give a kick in the butt and the smack on the ass of a Western jihadist on his way into a deportation van. Here we go. Here we go. So that's funny, right? That's a bit funny. I think that's funny. Here's what's going on in the G7. Mark Carney invited Modi of India, and some people are worried that Carney doesn't understand the dangers of the Khalistani protests and movement, and that Khalistani protest and movement could represent a danger to Modi. And if Modi gets attacked or hurt or anything like that, that would be a very, very big deal and a big diplomatic mess up for Carney. So neither here nor there. But Modi's supposed to be coming. Zelensky's supposed to be coming. Trump's coming. and this is happening next week. This is happening like Monday, I think. And well, they'll start arriving tomorrow, Sunday, and then the meetings start Monday. And Canada Proud is reporting Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman declined Mark Carney's offer to come to Canada for a G7 summit. So he said, no, not this time. Thanks very much. Here's a quick grab bag of governance, and then I got to kill the stream. Although we got lots and lots of interesting show left. Greg says Conservatives are voting against the main estimates. Mark Carney's government is asking Parliament for $500 billion in new spending, but without presenting a plan, a budget to detail how that money will be spent, nor to project the implications of that spending, deficit, debt, interest, payments, anticipated outcomes. We know high spending causes inflation and high interest rates. We know spending beyond our means results in more debt and escalating annual payments to service debt. Mark Carney is actually spending more than Justin Trudeau. Despite saying in the election that a plan beats no plan, he's refusing to release his plan. In the throne speech, he promised to cap spending increases at 2%, but only a few days later asked for an 8% increase. It would be irresponsible to vote for this funding allocation without some explanation from the government. And I said, please give us some indication if you've already reached out to the Bloc and NDP to confirm you're all going to vote no. If they all vote no, it doesn't pass the confidence vote, right? The vote is the House doesn't have confidence in this plan or this government, and so we go back to election. Or Pierre Poilievre gets asked if he can form a coalition, and when he says no, then we go to election. So not great, really, like not very good at all. But I am just the Conservatives voting against the main estimates. That's not enough. Like the government is going to survive unless the Bloc comes out and says we're voting no, and the NDP will confirm that they're voting no, and then you'd have to have a surety that some people aren't going to just vote yes anyway because they've been talked to, in a dark corner somewhere, or informed of the consequences if they don't vote to pass this thing. I think the budget is going to pass, or I think we're not going to get a budget. They're going to pass the main estimates. We're not going to get an election, and the Conservatives are going to say we did our best. Bring it home, and then everybody's just going to, like Men in Black, like totally forget about it, and then they're going to be mad about the next thing that we're told to be mad about, but nobody will deal with any of this or hold anybody accountable for failing to drop the government on no budget and $500 billion in spending, or $1 trillion in spending, $500 billion in spending. That's my prediction. They're going to get away with it, and everybody's going to forget about it, and nobody's going to be held accountable. Why is it my prediction? Because that's exactly the model that happened with COVID. That's exactly the model that's happened with pretty much every scandal. Justin Trudeau, who exactly? Look, we got a whole new government here. Poof, Men in Black. Right? Like you forget. And that's the point. I hope I'm wrong. I super duper hope I'm wrong, but Bloc Québécois, it's all on you guys. We'll see. Raquel Dancho says Mark Carney wants to ban Canadians from buying gas vehicles. The ban is expected to eliminate 38,000 jobs and cost $138.7 billion, costs that will be passed on to you and me, the consumer. Mr. Carney fails to recognize that EVs, which lose 40% of their battery life in cold weather, simply don't cut it in Canada's frigid winter temperatures. The ridiculous pie-in-the-sky policy will devastate the auto sector and consumers. It needs to go. People in the know say this will never happen because the auto sector will not let it happen. The auto sector is already calling on Mark Carney to repeal all of this. And unfortunately, the people who say this will never happen, I feel like that's me at the beginning of COVID saying they can't make this last through the summer. Nobody's going to wear masks outside. These people are idiots. And then me being shit shocked at seeing people driving around in their cars wearing masks by themselves and thinking, did everybody forget to use critical thinking skills? Did nobody learn how to do this? My gosh, it's incredible. And so I feel like if you think this can't happen, we should point to different communist regimes around the world that have weird cars because their communist regimes are weird about cars. Like Cuba. Cuba's got old 1950s cars. They're stuck in a weird time loop, right? And Canada will have one or two electric vehicles that kind of work for some people, and those will be the only cars that anybody has if this manages to go through, because these people are idiots. They're idiots. They're ideological idiots. Here is their ideologically captured puppets who are pushing through damaging policies that are meant to destroy our country. They're not idiots. They're doing exactly what they're told to do. And the people who are running this scam are running it at such a high level that a lot of people can't see it. So idiots is probably the wrong thing to call them. Anyway, I digress. Table Salt says Eastern fishermen are now joining Western farmers in calling out liberals' endless trade wars. It's time for this minister to get on a fishing boat or get some dirt under his nails on a farm. I like how he says farm as well. He says farm like firm.
Newfoundland.
Fishermen and farmers feed families. This season, Chinese tariffs on harvests from the land and the sea are impacting livelihoods of those that depend on markets in China. These tariffs are a direct result of this Liberal government's bungling of trade relations with China. Tariffs that range from 25% on lobsters to 100% on canola. My question to the Minister of International Trade is, when can farmers and fishermen expect this Liberal government to fix the mess they've made so they can get relief from Chinese tariffs?
Minister for International Trade.
At all times defend our national interests and the best interests of Canadians. Last week I sat down with the Minister of Commerce for China, Minister Wong, to talk about some of these issues that we're working through, whether it's canola, beef, pet food. These are some of the issues that came up at the table. We agreed to launch the JETC Commission, which is the Joint Economic Trade Committee, to work through some of these issues because we know we need to continue to open new markets for Canadians. Thank you.
Member for Central Newfoundland.
Mr. Speaker, it's time for that minister to go to sea in a gale of wind on a fishing boat or get some dirt under his nails on a farm with our hard-working farmers. Clearly, there's no respect for those that toil to feed their families and everybody else's family and to play such a crucial role in food security for Canada. Amen. So will the minister get relief from Chinese tariffs, or are fishermen and farmers just collateral damage in a trade war that these Liberals don't know how to fight?
Collateral damage. Yes, that's it. Here's John Rustad, and he's going after the judge who gave no jail time to the guy who had a modest child porn collection, and he's calling to jail him. Pedophile protecting judges was appointed by Dave Eby. Yesterday, British Columbians were shocked to hear that a BC judge suspended the sentence of a pedophile who possessed child abuse pornography because, in the judge's own words, it was a relatively modest collection. Now we learn that the judge was appointed by none other than former BC NDP Attorney General Dave Eby. Despite what this BC NDP and Eby appointed judge says, there is no such thing as a modest collection of child abuse porn. Like the vast majority of British Columbians, I'm disturbed to hear that a BC judge would say something so absurdly disgusting and vile. If it were up to me, he would be fired on the spot. I'm filing a written complaint to the Chief Judge of BC's Provincial Court to ask for the removal of this soft on child abuse crime, weak and activist judge. Make your voice heard and sign on to my complaint. So, I mean, the petitions are just ways for the Conservatives to harvest money from you, so I wouldn't recommend signing it. But very, very concerning stuff going on there. And the last one for the free show today is Michael Geist is talking about Bill C-4, and he says it eviscerates privacy rules for political parties retroactive to the early 2000s, and it goes to Finance Committee. Normally, a privacy bill would go to the ETHI Committee, but this is a tax bill with buried privacy provisions, and he goes through what the privacy provisions are. The provisions give political parties unlimited power to collect, use, and disclose personal information with no ability for privacy commissioners to address violations. The bill drops earlier proposed requirements to disclose security breaches and restricts selling Canadians information, and it blocks the application of provincial privacy laws. The bill's provisions set a privacy standard for political parties, effectively limited to merely disclosing their privacy practices that would be unthinkable for the private sector, and establishes an unprecedented back-to-the-future approach of wiping out any potential accountability dating back decades. So my question is, what the heck did the Liberals do to acquire personal information? And then what did they do with that personal information to require them to make these changes and rush it through? Pretty wild stuff. Really, really crazy. So not great. Not very good at all. There was one more story that I had in my grab bag of governance here that we'll do. Vesper says, the 2019 NSIRA report explained why the RCMP and CSIS are basically incompetent when it comes to doing their jobs properly. Basically, CSIS doesn't share their massive data with the RCMP to not jeopardize their sources, and the RCMP doesn't ask for data. So our main justice things, apparatuses, don't talk to each other. And that's not great, right? Like it's a very broken approach. I don't even know really what CSIS does. And RCMP has been useless for years anyway, and I think probably a lot more time than I've realized. But the whole shooting in Nova Scotia, that underscored just how useless the RCMP are. And CSIS, yeah, I think they're probably not very good. Like the Obsidian Order is not very good. You know what I mean? Like they've got them on Cardassia, but nobody really likes them. Okay, that's enough for the regular show, and we're going to go to the paid stream. So everybody watching on the stream, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, we'll carry on. Here's an assortment of invasion. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful